Hi folks, this is Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and today we're out here at the beautiful Apple Shakopee Ford dealership, and we're talking with Mustang owners, and we have a variety of Mustangs. We have some Shelbys, we've got some GTs, 350s, and we got some regular Mustangs, but we also behind us have what started that whole process of Mustang Shelbys, and that's the Cobra, and it belongs to Bill.
Right.
And Bill's son, AJ, is here along with his grandson, Lucas. So, Bill, you built this car.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about how you did that and the family involvement.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to my wife and his mother, Sheila, who, when I retired, she realized I need something to do to stay out of the house a bit. And so she said, why don't you guys consider doing something unique you've never done before? And it turned out to be, well, why don't we build a car? And so I have to give a lot of credit to AJ because he did most of the research as we were looking at different type of vehicles and different companies and things. This is a replica.
Right.
If it were a real one, it would be a whole lot more expensive.
Right. Probably sitting in a museum.
It would be. A lot of them are.
Yes.
I only know of two of them that are not in a museum. But anyway, so we went through that process. And actually, it was delivered on a semi to his home at that time in Shakopee, in the frame, the shell, and about 20 boxes of parts. And then from there we went forward and we found a donor car out in Oakland, California.
Okay.
That was a 2002 Mustang GT.
Okay.
So the engine and drivetrain is from that car.
All right.
It has a rear end that's basically out of even an older Thunderbird.
Okay.
And then so it's gradually come together in that process.
So when you got the crate, the kit that you purchased, it came with the body, it came with
frame.
the frame, and some of the steering wheel and then some of the kind of parts. But the engine, the transmission, and the rear axle and the front axle all came from a donor car.
Actually, the front end was part of the what we got from.
Okay.
We got it through Factory Five Racing.
Okay.
Which is one of the major suppliers of these types of vehicles in the country. So that was our source.
So AJ, did you feel a little nervous after you placed the order and the boxes arrived? Was Dad there when the boxes arrived?
Oh yeah, well, no nerves on my part when we placed the order because of all his money. So,
that would make me even more nervous.
Right. Well, no, it was an exciting day when the 53-foot trailer truck shows up from the company, and they have this really cool gantry crane inside the trailer that they had multiple kits in there that you could see.
Okay.
Both their Cobras and some of the other kits that Factory 5 makes, delivering across the country. So we were one of their stops, and it was a cold day in December, and just started unloading. And then, like my dad said, box after box after box. And one of the things that Factory 5 recommends is right away, go through, take your inventory.
Right.
So anyone that sees this and is interested in doing one of the kits, do that inventory right away, because we were a little lazy on that front because you get excited about, hey, let's start putting tab A into slot B.
Right.
And then later found out that maybe something was missing or otherwise. But it's a great process ordering from them. Sky's the limit as far as A, what you want to spend, and B, how individualized you want to make it.
Okay.
And so we kind of chose I think a reasonable price point for kind of all in out of the gate, but then it's okay, how much of Factory 5's parts do you want to use? Where we're going to go aftermarket, because there's a huge aftermarket support for these things. But then also, the crate donor parts that we ordered from that 2002 GT, the company that we bought from, they said, hey, here's the prepackaged everything. Ended up not using a lot of those parts because we're using Factory 5 parts or aftermarket. So you kind of end up with this this conglomerate of stuff, and we got to figure out, okay, which one we're going to go with, and then there's some cascading decisions from there about what to do with that. We did a lot of hand fabrication of stuff on our own, which is another challenge. But it was exciting from day one when it turns from an idea into a spreadsheet into that that invoice and then a whole bunch of boxes, and it starts to get real.
Now you must have had a space large enough. I mean, it's not a large car, but you still got to have space to spread out the parts and figure it out. So whose garage were you building in?
It was in AJ's garage right here in Shakopee at that time.
That's smart. That way it's out of you. Then you go home and it's all clean.
There you work.
He has to deal with it. Why is this still in here? How long have you been working on this deal?
Well, it didn't stay that way forever.
No, obviously.
Someone next to me moved to Texas in the middle of the process. And
Oh,
so the
well.
car did wander up to my place.
At that point, with all 60-some boxes trailing behind it.
By that time, most, but not all the boxes were incorporated in here.
All right, so where did you get your skill? I mean, either one of you. For not everyone can do this. I mean, some of it is like assembling a model and put piece A with piece B. But you've done some other things that are a little more complicated than that. And where does your mechanical skill come from? I mean, have you always been interested in tinkering with cars like this?
Always interested in tinkering in cars. Never did anything really significant on my own anyway until years ago. Went to a school in California at Sonoma Raceway and worked on Formula Mazdas and other open-wheel race cars. And I'm a mechanical engineer by education and trade, so kind of did that and then dove a little bit deeper into that. I've worked on Audis for a long time, and so when this came up, we were actually expecting it to be a little bit more straightforward. But when it came to the fabrication side, it was like, all right, if there isn't a solution from a vendor that applies here, let's dive in and start making stuff. And it was either if we break it, we can always repair it or buy a new one. So
yes, since you're making it yourself, then you can do that.
Exactly. And I've been making when you work on old Audis and stuff, a lot of that stuff isn't available anymore, and so you end up just having to do your own fabrication and just make it. So a lot of that is in this car, which is pretty cool.
Well, that is real. It's a little, it's a lot like sort of, in some ways, a painting. It's got a lot of your personal touches in it. So let's talk about the car itself. First of all, I love this color. What is it?
Viking blue.
Viking blue. Okay, now I would not have guessed that was called Viking blue.
The Minnesota Vikings.
This is the Icelandic Vikings.
There you go. Right.
The ice blue. But it's a beautiful color. Wow. And I love what you would typically call a blackout package, where your rims are black, your exhaust is black, the supports behind the seats are black. That is just a stunning look. Who picked the colors? Or did you both just?
Well, it was I think a joint effort, because we started trying to figure out what this one will look like. You look at tons of pictures online. You obviously see the iconic Ford blue with the Wimbledon white stripes, which is gorgeous. A lot of cars are done that way, and so we agreed that let's do something unique. The fiberglass shell actually shows up in a red gel coat. And you're like, gosh, that red looks pretty good.
Okay.
But it needs to be professionally finished. And then just looking at some photos, and this being the closest that we could get to a classic Ford color from the 60s. Apparently they did paint some of the original Cobras this color, Falcons, and some other models.
Okay.
And with the vision of the black wheels, black side pipes, like you mentioned, it just seemed like that would be a neat combination.
So this was actually a Ford color.
That was the idea. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. That is really neat. I'm not sure I've ever seen that color in another car, but it is absolutely stunning. What does it have for an engine?
We can show you, too.
Yes. I can hold the mic while you open that up. Ooh.
It's a 4.6 liter single overhead cam out of a 2002 Mustang GT. Now, I'm not sure exactly what horsepower it produces.
They were, I think, 260 horse and 300 or 302 foot-pounds stock. And this is really not modified other than a somewhat custom intake, just out of force of obligation based on the arrangement in the vehicle, and then with the side pipes obviously being much freer flowing than a standard catalyzed exhaust, but no aftermarket tuning or anything at this point.
Wow! But how much does this thing weigh?
About 2,300 pounds.
Yes. It's got to really light up the tires.
Yeah, well, coming down here today on a wet road, you have to be very careful.
Very careful.
And eventually, the back end wants to pass the front end on it, and so you just need to
I'm
be
sure
careful
it does.
Of the oversteer issue.
Oh, man. Now, I'm assuming on the front here you've got some, what I would call, it almost looks like tow bars. I'm not sure what those are. What are those black bars that stick out the front?
They're called quick jacks. And in the original racing models of these, they could use those and shove this little two-wheeled thing under it and lift it just like that, front and back.
Okay, so it's more or less designed for like quick work on the front tires, removing them,
Yeah.
so you could pop up everything at one time.
Yep.
And would have been each side had its own jack then, or was it one jack that
I think
lifted up
it
the whole
was like
front?
one wide enough kind of cantilever device that you could press down on, lift up the
Okay.
car. Yeah.
Wow.
These are more kind of the historic nod and aesthetic
Right.
choice at this point.
I like that.
Yeah.
These vents are real. Or are they cosmetic?
They're real.
So they'll bring air back out. So they're bringing it back out from underneath the wheel or the engine.
Yeah, well, both, actually.
Okay.
The original idea of the vents here were an afterthought because these cars, because of their light weight and high power and speed, would tend to want to take off. Mm-hmm. And so they put the vents in there to give the air a place to go when it was coming in
So
under
they would
the
stay,
car.
hug the road a little bit better.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Okay, let's walk to the middle here. We'll take a look at the inside here. Now the seats came with it,
No.
or did you order these seats?
These were
Separately ordered.
by us.
Okay.
Yeah, the standard seats that you can get with the kit are a kind of a standard low back vinyl, which we eventually sold aftermarket or after the fact to someone else that needed them. Wanted to go with a high back. One, aesthetics. Two, comfort, and three, honestly, safety, because we were going to do the dual roll bar. And this is not a place to
your
contact with your head without a helmet on.
Right.
So this helps prevent that as well.
And
And they're heated because it's Minnesota.
yeah, ooh, nice. So you can drive this when I'm sure you don't take it out when it's snowing, but this one is a little cooler.
It can be a little chilly. I had the seat heaters on this morning.
Well,
it also has a regular heater that's run off the cooling system too.
But that's nice here, and I mean, especially in Minnesota, where it gives you a little bit longer season to drive it, which is nice.
Yeah.
And so now all the gauges came as part of the package, or did you change those gauges, like the speedometer, the tach, and the battery, and all that stuff?
Those were separately ordered.
Okay.
You
And
might notice that we tried to stick with history here and put the Speedo in the middle,
Oh yeah.
which was sort of a
it's
Carroll
a re-
Shelby thing.
It's a reverse
It's
speedometer.
still a
Reverse.
reverse sweep speedo. Yeah.
I like that.
He liked
So-
to scare the Jesus out of anybody in the passenger seat.
So why is it going that direction? And then is this
I don't know.
Is this a headlight switch or a heater switch?
That's the
or-
heater.
Yeah,
That's
heater.
okay. There's your headlight switch over there. So then, to start it, you have you have a switch on and off, and what is the switch underneath the dashboard or underneath the steering wheel? Right down.
High beams.
That's your high beams.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Right through the steering wheel. Well, of course you can get underneath it. Is it a tiltable steering wheel? Adjustable at all?
That is not.
That's
It's
stuck.
an option we could do today if we wanted to. but
Okay.
It fits fine.
All right. Let's walk towards the back here. Boy, I love these gas caps. And that
Le
is
Mans
just-
cap, right.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And I see you got the same kind of jack mounts out the back. So I can see that being handy. If you're
Right.
doing a race and worried about time, just get this car right up.
This will
So-
do a number on your shins, though, if you hit it. I guarantee.
Whoa, you've experienced that before, have you?
Yeah.
So can we look in the trunk?
Here, I'll hold this.
So
Not very large.
So it's not a super large, but you've got some space.
Holds a hat and a brush.
Holds a hat and a brush and a jacket and a pair of
pair
glasses
of sunglasses.
and a cleaning towel.
And that's about it.
Yeah, well, that's more than you can fit in the front.
That's true.
All right, so, is this project complete?
It's never complete.
Uh-huh.
There's always something you can do.
Okay.
We've talked about changing the rear end gearing on it to give it a little more grunt,
Okay.
and that's something we could do. We've also talked about superchargers.
Okay.
That's a bigger project.
So it's done enough that you can enjoy it and drive it, but could
yeah.
always be something in the future. The question I have is there another car in the future? Now, I know you moved further away, so that maybe that's a little more difficult, but you're retired.
He moved back.
You moved back now.
Right.
Well,
Well, what's funny is about the part of this build process is that every time we would run up against an issue and have to backtrack a couple steps and move forward, we would joke that, gosh, by the fourth or fifth car, this is going to be a piece of cake. So there's always sort of been number
Yes.
two in the future. And I think when you start to appreciate the community of people that build these,
Yes.
either as hobbyists or in some cases as professionals, you understand why they're on their third, fourth, or fifth car.
Right.
One, it's a lot of fun. It's really cool to see the end product, but then you always have ideas about what you do differently. which is a great part of the process.
So, Lucas, this question is for you. Have you ever gotten to ride in the car?
Yes.
And what was your favorite thing about riding in the car?
Going really fast.
Going really fast. Should I ask who was driving the car or not?
My dad.
Your dad. All right. And so hopefully Mom isn't listening to that.
Well, she's aware.
She's aware. All right. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for sharing, this generational car and the car itself and your beautiful story and your family. Thanks so much.
Thank you.